joining me today, we have James, who is going to be joining me on commentary.
Hey,
say
everyone.
hi, James.
Hi, James.
And our competitors today are Paul and Matt. Say hi, Paul and Matt.
Hello, Paul and Matt.
Hello.
Oh, well,
Joke.
I can see this is going to go incredibly well today. So, what have we got today here, James?
So today we've got the Shield competition for season 5 of the
Yes,
Colosseum
season
Cup.
5,
Is
yeah.
that right? Excellent. And we've voted on one of our interesting formats for this one, which is that our players must be using a minimum of 36 Planeswalkers.
Yes, and so that's come in. You two have come up with some interesting brews. In fact, on screen right now, we have Matt's deck, which you can see has, we hope, if we can count correctly,
Should I not be listening to this?
36 Planeswalkers. It's all right. Paul's agreed not to be looking at the screen for this particular part, so he's not getting too much insight.
I actually really rate the
turn it down a
dedication
minute.
here, because we've not just gone for the minimum number of Planeswalkers here. We've gone for nothing but Planeswalkers.
You've really
That's like just
surpassed it,
all
to
in.
be honest.
Let's go for it. Let's do this.
We won't go through the cards just so that Paul doesn't get the exact idea. Hi, DJ Critch. Good to see you in the chat. But just to give you guys an idea, how have you guys found the brewing process for this?
For me, I mean, I don't like Planeswalkers, so this was tough.
It's a real challenge for you then.
I started by looking at what I already had. That was the first thing. Then I looked at how many wild cards I had. That was the second thing. Then I first of all, crammed in everything that looked good, and then I had about a 100-card deck. So that was out the question. And then I finally started to come to some kind of sort of brewing, I suppose. I've come up with something.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
And,
I suppose it's one where we should probably all be grateful that Blood Moon's not legal in this format.
Oh yeah.
So I originally figured that you could just play Khan, the War of the Spark Khan, and then if I had enough wild cards, I was just going to stick that card from Ixalan, that's
Sun?
the Gator.
The Immortal Sun.
Yeah, the Immortal Sun.
That could be an entertaining
Angel.
way of... Yeah.
So my whole idea was to bring in the Artifact Angel, then the Immortal Sun next turn, and basically not just wait for the player. My
Can
opponent.
you win?
Great to watch.
I suppose we already had a
decided
significant amount of Khan the Great Creator in the last Shield, so in some ways it's kind of nice that that's maybe not the focus of your deck at least.
Yeah.
Schiff has in the chat.
Decided to go
top 4
up to
Gladius players and a Catman. Good start. Well, I think, folks, we should probably get down to the gameplay, shouldn't we? So if Paul and Matt wouldn't mind just muting us from the mic so they can't hear our commentary and give away all the secrets.
Okay.
And if you want to turn your webcams on or off, it's up to you. But we'll just get started. We have Matt's on full screen right now, and I've realised I'm gesturing in completely the wrong direction. But I'm sure this will work out just fine. Now.
So what are we expecting to see from this, Sam? What do you reckon the gameplay is going to be like with this bizarro format?
Grindy. I have no idea what interaction Paul's going to be playing today, so it's going to be interesting to see if they've got any just any way of interacting with all the value that these Planeswalkers are going to be generating.
I was quite surprised, I must admit, just looking at the deck list there, to see 0 copies of Narset Parter of Veils, because the amount of grindiness. Sure, I think the single most important card in the matchup is almost certainly going to be Sarkhan.
Yeah.
Dragon Master, whatever is the War of the Spark Sarkhan as a win condition.
To a certain extent, I think there's going to be an Ugin and Bolus kind of thing going on where those two cards are just so powerful by themselves they could just take the game over as well, completely wipe the opponent's board.
Absolutely. Bolus having the ability to target, destroy Planeswalker is a huge deal. Yeah. And Ugin is possibly the only significant catch-up method in this entire format.
Yeah, there's obviously a couple of bits and pieces, like the acceleration that Kiora is providing is obviously good as well. But it looks like our players are underway, so we'll find out exactly how this goes down.
Ajani versus Luca, by the look of it.
Luca.
Avatars. some Planeswalkers, so they're all in theme here.
just having a little bit of technical difficulties.
As can always be expected.
Yeah, hopefully we'll just see if we can get... There we go.
Yeah, we've got it back. Fantastic. Yeah. I was interested to see if anyone would come up with a Luca strategy, actually, maybe just having, the one of Endra's Forerunners or something with token generating things.
We can see that Matt's gone for a bunch of scry lands and tap lands to try and make the mana base work. Interplanar Beacon, another key card in the matchup. We can see a couple of creatures, obviously, that are going to be reasonably interactive as well here, in the sense that they at least make creatures, but I don't know how.
Yeah, I do think this is a reasonably strong-looking intro hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Given the grindy nature of the format, it's entirely possible that Matt's 4 copies of Ashiok Dream Render is actually a significant win condition.
Indeed, he's just drawn the Davriel as well, which again is just something that might provide that right advantage for Matt.
So, here's a bit of trivia for you. Are you aware of what Davriel's real surname is?
I am not.
So, all of the supplementary material will try and tell you that it's Davriel Kane. But I can bring you an exclusive scoop that it's actually Davriel Slim Shady. And the reason I know this is because of the song lyrics. I'm Slim Shady. Yes, I'm Davriel Shady. All the other Slim Shadys are just imitating.
Damn it, James.
There you go.
You had me going for like a good 30 seconds. I can see that Paul's opted for the Tri-lands as his mana base, so that's probably going to be good for him in terms of keeping things. Oh, and what's that? What's that card going there? Is that a Cascading Cataract? Ooh,
genius!
Really going for it here.
I can see the Interplanar Beacon on Matt's side of the field now. I imagine that's going to be a hugely important card for most of the mana base.
Just gaining him a lot of life.
Getting him more life, providing all of those extra colours.
Yeah.
All you need to do, basically.
And now it looks like he's going for that mill strategy over the discard strategy. I've got to assume that... he's milled things like Bolus and Gideon. There's a lot of good stuff going on.
Bolus, Gideon, and I think 2 Triomes there, so not a bad hit by any means.
So we'll see how that turns out. You've got to imagine that Paul's got a 4-drop that he can cast, though, with the start he's had.
You'd certainly expect so.
Unless he's holding
something fantastic would be, imagine Vraska Golgari Queen destroying Ashiok here would be, I think, just about as good as you can get.
He's not unfortunately had as good a start as that. He's played Ajani, but this is going to make him a bunch of Ajani's Pride mates, which is going to hopefully put a lot of board presence on to really pressure Matt.
It's a significant amount of pressure, and if he can find an Interplanar Beacon, then that's yet another bit of synergy that's possible in these strategies.
If Matt ends up landing this Vraska, it is going to make some Assassins, which are going to be pretty good for blocking these Pride mates, given that they have Death Touch.
And is it Vraska's static ability that means that Death Touch creatures will one-shot Planeswalkers, or is that
No, it is.
No, that is the property of the feature of the Assassin. Excellent. That's
that's
some pretty good news.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's a Garrick and an Ajani gone again. So
I think possibly it looks on the basis here that Paul has just gone for sheer power, and we've seen a lot of very powerful high mana cost Planeswalkers being milled.
Absolutely, he's gone to try and stretch that mana base as much as he can with all these Triomes and these Jewels. It looks like he's leaning towards Grixis, given what he's played so far.
Could be a bolus in our future.
Bolus. He's got that mana, I think. He's got... No, he hasn't, actually. He's only got 2 black mana there. With the Cascading Cataracts, obviously only tapping for colors.
Oh, of course, on the far left of the screen, that's a Jeskai Triome.
Triome, yeah, that's it.
Regatha?
That set's a really good hit. It can probably take out, if they've got something in their hand, one of the Planeswalkers.
She can indeed target Planeswalkers with her ability. Fantastic. One of the best cards, one of my favourite cards that's not seeing play in any standard format.
Yeah, it's a really sweet card.
Nasty to the way.
But that's nice synergy though. Narset with the life gain triggers making the Ajani
absolutely. Sadly, the Death Touch of the Assassin is going to at least, I wouldn't say win this fight, but certainly put a little bit of a downer on the ability to grow huge creatures and win them.
On the positive side for Matt though, he's making a Death Touch creature this turn, possibly 2 if he decides to play the other Vraska. And if he actually makes contact with the face, it's going to make it into a 2/2 Death Touch, though I don't think he's going to be attacking face anytime soon. I think he's just going to keep trading away as much as he can, trying to protect that Ashiok.
Yes, I feel at this stage that defense is probably the optimal thing for this. I don't hate this attack. This is quite a good attack here.
Yeah.
You effectively force the block.
I think that's the advantage that Paul's got to press here. He's got to really try and maintain a board presence. If obviously Matt can land that Liliana, that'll be really good for him. It will keep the board presence.
Absolutely. Dreadhorde General, one of the most powerful cards in currently available formats in Arena. It's an absolute stonker.
Absolute stonker. But as we can see, he just keeps going for that mill strategy. How many cards can you actually mill off this Ashiok? Is it as many as 20?
2 Sarkans gone right there.
2 Sarkans, oh gosh. That could have been a game changer. But
the granting of flying would just be such a huge deal.
That could just one-shot a player in one go, can it? Well, one shot in one go. That's a bit redundant, isn't it? Perfect colour commentary from me there.
But no, the ability to just bypass these growing Ajani's Pride Mates and Death Touch Assassins and all of this gumming up of the board that everyone seems to be going for would be such a huge deal.
Yeah, I think Paul's going to struggle with 2 Death Touches in play, though. That's he's going to have to either hold something back or put pressure down somehow to get rid of these assassins. Maybe a Chandra or something that could just sweep up the 1/1s would be good.
Yes, absolutely. The 6 mana Chandra in particular, I would say, is one that could be quite powerful in these cases. Also, just a bit of inevitability with the uptick, giving emblems.
Yeah, key in a matchup like this.
Certainly shocking something in. So this either means 2/3 mana walkers or a 6 mana.
Yeah, or it could mean a 5 colour something or other. Might be playing a Niv Mizzet. You never know.
That'd be an interesting one in this, wouldn't it? Niv Mizzet Reborn, draw a bunch of Planeswalkers.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look like he's gone for 5 colours, but he's just used it to make a Vivian. Is that right? Hang on.
Yes, I believe it only had 1 source of green other than the Cataracts. So,
well, there you go. So that's created a little beast with trample by the looks of things. So that's going to hopefully be enough.
Getting flashbacks. It looks too close to an elk for my.
You're having flashbacks. Shivers down my spine. Body's aching.
Not that they didn't, win the first Pioneer tournament that we had with Oko.
Oh yeah, that was it. That was a day.
I tried to play
Hollow on like a silly sausage, but there you go.
I absolutely adored that. The idea of something that we're getting from this exact game here as well, actually, is the whole idea of a new format. No strictures in place, no established metagame, just the opportunity for people to come and brew and have fun with whatever they're
exactly. And I tell you what, these 2 players seem to have risen to the challenge, really given some interesting what's the word I'm looking for? Interesting interpretations of how to approach 36 Planeswalkers in the deck.
Absolutely. Obviously, there's going to be a significant amount of crossover just due to the number of Planeswalkers available. Though, having said that, War of the Spark, of course, gave us many, many options indeed.
And here we have Matt drawing the 5th land, ever crucially, meaning that Vivian can come into play of his own.
I was interested to see there if we would go for Vivian or possibly try and set up the Liliana with
another option could have been play the Kiora, untap the land, play the Gabriel. But this is an equally good move, I think. It means that there's a decent board presence format so that they can actually block all these Planeswalkers, protect that Ashiok, get that extra 4 mil. Not quite
Indeed,
sure.
and Ashiok is really eating away at the library here. I mean, sure, each downtick is technically not doing anything in terms of progressing the board state, etc. But if we get a couple of these Ashioks, or a way to pick it up and blink it, this could end up breaking the board stall.
It could indeed, and we can see that. Technical difficulties again, but we can see that an Ashiok, 5 mana Ashiok, got milled for Paul as well. That's something that would have been nice.
6 mana Ugin. This is a huge draw. Just the ability to shoot down almost anything from the opposing side of the battlefield.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting to see what he chooses. Is he going to try and take the Ashiok out so he saves a bit of mill, gives him perhaps another couple of turns?
He is indeed. You're right. Yep, got it in 1.
This Vivian's an interesting one, isn't it? Because both players can see the top of their deck and cast creatures from it, but I don't believe they're playing any creatures.
I can't imagine there's very many. No, it doesn't seem like the way to go.
Unless we somehow see Visit Reborn on top as well, like I said earlier.
The only creature that I was perhaps expecting to see that I'm a little bit surprised I've not seen from either player yet was Gilded Goose, actually. Simply the ability to cast a Planeswalker on turn 2 as opposed to turn 3 might have... in theory, made a difference. Though if they both think that it's going to be grindy enough not to matter, then
and it looks like I don't think either player is actually playing Oko because it's on the historic ban list. So we've kind of agreed internally to keep that locked down. So there's no chance of a bunch of Elks appearing. There's not suddenly going to be a. I'm trying to think what it would be, an 8/8 Elk appearing on the opponent's side of the field.
Yeah, in honesty, that's probably a good thing because. I think all Oko would do is drag everything out a little bit more.
Which means that both of these games would go to time. But DJ pointing out in the chat feels a bit like it might be a bit slower than the colourless only game, and I think I'm inclined to agree.
Mm-hmm.
I see a Veraska on the top there, the 4-mana Veraska that can destroy a CMC 3 or less.
Golgari Queen. I was kind of interested by the keeping that because obviously, this Ajani's Pride Mage is getting... get massive, as I believe they say.
Indeed, they do. I believe the kids do, yes.
But at the same time, is it really threatening when you have 3 Death Touch Assassins in play at the minute?
That's true. I think that what Matt might be looking at is that this does mean that every land that is drawn from now on is a form of card advantage, and it can just be cycled into something else. So there is something to it. And plus the ult on Vraska, if there is a board state, it's a way to win the game. So maybe that's the case. Although, obviously, I can't get inside their head to find this out.
Yeah, though I do think that Liliana is going to have to be the priority because Liliana takes a remarkably small amount of time to get to Ultimate, and Ultimating Liliana is going to be game. That's going to be.
I suppose with the 6th land, there was the consideration there that maybe should have been thought about, but obviously hindsight's 20/20.
Of course. An interesting question regarding Kiora Behemoth Bacana actually is whether or not there are any planeswalkers or creatures that can be generated, etc., that are 4 power that would draw you a card. I suppose the Sark and the Masterless's minus.
Yes.
That creates a 4 red dragon.
Oh, we can see with all this is an issue that we're seeing, just to interrupt that thought, that Matt's actually struggling for time now because of all the triggers that he's got to try and piece through. So that's interesting, something we didn't perhaps consider, that just with all these Planeswalkers in play, a turn's going to take an awful long time and get you to rope.
The sad fact as well, of course, is that the worse your computer is, the harder that's going to get, because Arena is notably leaky, shall we say.
Not particularly well optimized for those of us who are less technologically... What's the word? Whose PCs... Yes. Yes. Who are playing on potatoes rather than spaceships.
Precisely.
But yeah, I completely agree with where you were going earlier. Absolutely.
This is getting quite delightfully gummed up. Actually,
it is, isn't it? It's as Garfield intended, with a big asterisk on it of maybe not so many planeswalkers.
I'm actually wondering whether or not I need to go and check the wording on. The God Pharaoh. This is a huge deal.
Oh wow! It's the Nicol Bolas. This could be the thing that turns the game around. Oh,
absolutely could be. Getting to cast planeswalkers for free from the top of your opponent's library, getting to destroy or effectively destroy planeswalkers at will.
Oh, gosh,
and then one-sided planar cleansing. That's the one, isn't it? As the ultimate.
Oh gosh, yeah. Exile each non-land opponent your opponent controls. And what obviously Paul doesn't know is if he pluses what he's gonna find on top of Matt's deck, because Matt has kept that to the top. Is he gonna go for that Vraska that he doesn't know is there, obviously? But oh goodness, he could even just -7 and kill one of the opponent's planeswalkers.
Oh, he's going for it. He's gonna get a Vraska. And leave an Ashiok on top, however, that's not exactly bad.
That's going to be a bit difficult for Paul to deal with. It'll mean that that's something that can get rid of the Bolas next turn, but even only for a turn, just means that there's a little less that Paul can do, so it'll hopefully keep
maybe
Matt in.
over time with Davriel, though, you'll be able to engineer a scenario where you can bounce it, exile, get them to discard, etc., etc., and there'll be few enough cards in hand.
Because if there's one thing, go ahead.
Paul will have to be on the lookout for that. Oh, the Davriel's now been destroyed, so it doesn't necessarily matter anyway. But I would imagine that if Paul has another land in hand, then just holding it might be a good shout here, just in case.
One thing that Paul doesn't have to worry about too much is his life total, though, being on 34, having a lot of life gain Planeswalkers, and also we've got to remember that the way that we think Matt's going to try and win is milling out. So as long as Matt can keep the game going, Paul's going to struggle, but it's ever so slightly eking towards Paul, I think, at this moment in time.
I think so. What do you think of that decision to cast the Ashiok there rather than the Liliana?
I think if it's going to be targeting the Bolus and giving a turn back in terms of both reducing the loyalty, but also meaning that Paul can't double spell or triple spell next turn, as it probably would be the case, I think that's possibly the best move that Matt has at the moment. You can see he was maybe considering on that Vraska, trying to put it back in his own hand.
That would have been a clever move, but I kind of agree with him that at this stage it's not doing enough.
Yeah, because it's not
like
killing
a
anything.
Fairy Master of Time being exiled from Paul's hand there.
Yeah, perhaps not the not the best Planeswalker that Paul can be seeing, but certainly good enough to at least protect the Bolus for even a short amount of time.
Precisely.
I believe it can phase out Planeswalkers, can it not?
I don't believe so. I think it's just creatures.
Right, so it can't phase out the Ashiok to give him a break for a turn, sadly.
Though I suppose there is the advantage of phasing out a token does just immediately kill it.
It does, yes.
Phasing, I'm having to dredge up all of my my phasing knowledge in the rules.
It's a good thing we have a former judge in the chat, so...
And in the chat here, come on.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean, you.
Oh, right. I thought you meant in the chat of the stream or something like that. I thought getting with the disrespect.
Well, oh goodness me, that's an ult from the...
I haven't even seen that coming. I didn't realise.
I didn't even realise either. Oh god, what? Well, I feel like we've been thoroughly had.
I'm just going straight for face. Is that enough?
Oh, run away. But I think,
how on earth does Matt come back from this?
I have no idea. Oops. That cheeky oops in there as well from Paul. I had no idea that's what a Johnny's ultimate is. I don't think anyone's ever ultimate over.
Oh no, he's already activated Narset this turn and played a land. He can't cast Bolus and just go face for the win.
Oh no, I don't think... can Bolus go face for the win?
I believe that the 7 damage goes to any target.
Or creatures. I could be wrong. This is one of those. I need to get the errata up.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to do a very quick Google right here.
Yes, but that's wow. That's a massive, massive deal because no death touch blockers. That game has turned on a sixpence. Absolutely. It looks like if the spark is ignited for anyone today, it's Paul.
Yeah, -4 Nicol Bolas Godfarer deals 7 damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls.
Well, I think unless Matt can gain a bunch of life this turn, you've got to figure that's going to be game over.
I think so. There's a nice little bit of synergy going on here between Vraska, Golgari Queen, and Ugin the Ineffable as well, with giving you the option to sacrifice your own manifests for cards that you like that are under them. Just a little bit of additional synergy.
I can't quite see what Paul chose to sack. I believe it was a land, so that's interesting.
I think so. Yeah, that seems to be correct. That Teferi Master of Time is not going to do enough, though, is it?
No, it doesn't.
I'm just having a look here. How many? So you can get. We can make them sacrifice 2 creatures with the Liliana, put immediately 2 more tokens into play with Ashiok and Vivian. I don't think this is going to be enough, Sam.
Yeah, I think it's going to be curtains for Matt, but we'll see if he can pull something out. Maybe he can make, I don't know, some kind of Ugin appear off the top of his deck somehow. But you've got, like you say, James, I think the writing's on the wall.
The Spirit Dragon but even then you'd be left with 2 colorless manifests that would be lethal.
That's true. That is true. So unless you can finish it off with a Liliana, but I don't think that Matt's going to be double spelling this
might be the first game.
It might well be.
The option of just straight up power from the top of Paul's deck. Some incredibly powerful planeswalkers we've seen.
Absolutely. I don't think if we were to take a snapshot from the first 40 seconds of this game, well, 2 minutes I should say, they would probably saying that Paul was looking the underdog, but then that Ajani just really turned the tables. Not something we expected.
I wonder whether or not Matt's strategy of playing several planeswalkers with potentially alternate win cons that don't affect the board, such as Ashiok Dreamrender, might actually come back to bite him in this case.
Indeed, it might not be enough board presence.
Beckon are another example of this. They perform a role, they get a job done, but is it the right job?
That's it. DJ Critch in the chat asking, does Paul play Ugin? We have absolutely no idea at the moment. We've seen him play Bolas. We haven't seen him play 8 mana Ugin. 6 mana Ugin obviously in play. But if he does draw Ugin, you've got to imagine that he's not going to be casting it next turn. There's just not quite enough mana in play. But that's not going to matter because of all the creatures on the board.
We only need a single land for it, given that Narset Plus is to make a mana as well, and then could just straight bolt upstairs. Though I think this is just Dobbs dead on the board, isn't it?
There we go. Matt with the concede, knowing that the end is here. Going to sideboarding. It's going to be interesting to see what... no sideboard.
It's quite a dominating performance from Paul, that there. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Turned completely on its head by that Ajani ultimate. Maybe he will get the same again. Whoever plays Big Ugin, I feel, just wins the game, says DJ Critch. I think that is a good point. But as we saw there, Ajani turned the game with the grind. Bolas created enough of an issue for Matt so that he couldn't quite get back into it.
This is a difficult looking hand as well from Matt. It doesn't actually do anything.
He's
for
gone
several
for the
turns.
mulligan. Yeah, he's gone for the mulligan there. But we've got another.
I feel like that was probably the right choice. I think you had to mulligan that there. This still looks.
Both of the lands were scry lands, so he could have maybe kept that in the hopes to just maybe eke out a land from the top few cards of his deck. And I know I've been known to keep hands like that in the past, but I think that's probably the right choice, as you say. In the end, it's going to be a bit tricky though, trying to cast that Bolas off of these lands. Hoping for another.
Yet again, I'm curious about this lack of Narset Potter Veil. The other thing she does, of course, is dig for your own Sargons, your own Ugins, your own big boys.
Absolutely.
We'll have to question the players
see what
in the post-match interview. I'm sure there was a philosophy. I'm sure there was a thought behind this. Even if that thought is only, here's the cards I have available on Arena. Sometimes you have to make do.
Absolutely. I think Paul said as much. He looked at what planeswalkers he had, and then he said, right, how many wild cards I got, and he just slammed it all together.
Have some respect for that sort of thing. Looks like both players starting on 6 for this game, so there's always a possibility of still a real game. Matt considering a Davriel on the top of his library here.
Yeah, he's opted not to go for it, not going for that card advantage plan. He's going to try and use that Kiora, leverage it into Vraska. And
possibly even Nicol Bolas if we get the another black source. Yeah. It would be needed right off the top.
And I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's furiously digging for any lands that he can find here.
I think that seems like a good plan, honestly.
I think so too.
Getting a Nicol Bolas Dragon God going as early as possible, which is still possible on turn 4 here. If you draw an untapped black source off the top of the deck.
Absolutely.
It would just make such a huge difference.
Choosing wisely not to activate the Kiora there for no value.
Absolutely.
No bluffing of Lightning Bolt here.
And now we see if Paul is going to get anything on the go. No, he's not. He's missed a third land drop.
He's kept a 2-er. And now we've got a really interesting one here. Is he going to play Ashiok or is he going to play Vraska?
I feel like Vraska's such a amazing choice here, because if any Planeswalker now comes off the top of Paul's deck, anything that is playable, unless it makes a blocker, it's dead. It's just gone.
I completely agree here. And then what he can do now that we've got the Vraska in play, not drawn another land, he's going to discard.
I think this might be a game 3 on the cards.
Game 3, exciting stuff here at the Colosseum Cup for this season 5.
Oh, Nissa who shakes the world, but it's uncastable.
This world, is she? She's not coming into play for a good while.
Could still be as early as next turn. Remember that Kiora on
absolutely
battlefield. But, both players a little bit of mana issues here. It's quite interesting to see.
And there's a land going off the top. We saw a Tybalt in there as well. But as you can see, I was going to say it's going to be difficult because most of these guys' decks start at 3. So
it's going to start putting counters on these assassins at this point, and maybe it's not quite as synergistic and efficient as Paul's Ajani's Pridemates last game, but it still gets the job done.
It certainly does, and you got to think that as these Death Touch creatures get bigger, and as it's going to be more and more difficult for Paul to block. And there's the Narset that we were worried about.
Exactly what I was talking about. One single 1/1 Death Touch, bang, Narset's gone.
But at least we're getting something out of it. So hopefully for Paul can find some sort of answer, some way to try and dig out this Vraska, get it off the board.
I can't help but feel that any untapped land here is just game. And Nissa at this point, it just puts so far ahead with very few methods of catch-up.
Yeah, it puts. There's only one forest in play for Matt, but there we go. We've got the Jungle Hollow. It's not going to be too effective this turn.
Potentially gives Paul a reprieve here. He does have to take a tiny bit out of his day.
Oh,
or he's not even going to.
Oh,
or is he?
Is he or isn't he? Oh, I think Paul's just called it time there. I think he sees the writings on the wall. Those Death Touchers assassins were just going to absolutely
just get out of hand.
Yeah.
I suppose we want some more time for game 3 as well. We saw how grindy game 1 was.
Yeah. Hoping for another absolute slobber knocker.
An absolute, excuse me, what?
Slobber knocker.
that sounds euphemistic in the extreme, my friend.
It's from pro wrestling, I promise. It's nothing. It's all PC.
Oh, this is an awkward one right here, though, isn't it?
Very awkward one.
On the draw, do you think you can take that with the possibility of Kiora into one of the Vraskas or even a Tamiyo?
It's almost keepable, but not quite. I think this is a much more keepable hand. Ashiok into Vraska.
Pair of Ashioks and a pair of Vraskas seems pretty good.
Yeah, I'd probably personally bottom an Ashiok here. Just try and win with the... We saw how key Vraska was in that last matchup. Oh, is he going for Interplanar Beacon turn 1? Surely
no, I think he knows the value of... Now, see, I think this is quite interesting here with the 2 temples. I would have been tempted to play the Jungle Hollow there. You have a reasonable curve of 3 into 4 available.
Yes.
I think the Scry might be extremely valuable later on in the game. Tamiyo is an interesting choice to leave on the top there. What do you think about that?
I think that's a pretty excellent choice to keep on the top. It starts milling yourself when you plus it to name a card if you just name Nicol Bolas or Ugin, but you get to at least next turn get a Planeswalker back that's maybe gone into the bin, or get something that you've milled. Just any advantage you can gain off of something like Tamiyo is fantastic, especially if your opponent's playing a Davriel. It means you can't discard a card.
An element of almost tutoring in some ways.
Indeed, and if the opponent plays a Liliana, Tamiyo's prevents the sacrifice ability, I do believe, as well, doesn't it?
Indeed, yes it does. Oh, but here's a Gideon on turn 3 on the play for Paul.
Aggressive.
This could really get out of hand.
Yeah, we can see that the aggressive nature of Paul's deck is really coming home now.
Just every card he's played during these games has been an absolute hit. The power has been off the charts with Paul's decks. I really like it so far.
Yeah, even with the Narset, which obviously didn't do anything for him that game, if he managed to land that on turn 3, it could have been a completely different game.
And this just gives Paul the opportunity to kill the Ashiok at will, assuming the Ashiok downticks. And if it doesn't downtick, then why are you playing it in the first place?
I think just to gain the life, really, isn't it? That's almost a good enough reason. Just to gain one more life might be enough, especially when it turns from a
Les Mis territory here.
Can you hear
the revolution has started. Gideon is getting in this.
Absolutely.
Tap land, a
and
Tybalt.
There's the life gain absolutely gone now. No chance for Matt to get any life back unless they can get the Vraska down to attack with these Death Touch assassins.
And these devils are surprisingly useful as well at just finishing off planeswalkers, particularly the ones with static abilities that might stick around at 1 loyalty.
Absolutely. And that can be very handy if one of the players lands a Sarkhan.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware that Sarkhan is a big fan of reading some of the Russian epics? You know, the Dostoevsky's, etc. of the world. He really loves stuff that anything that drags on. He likes a drag.
Top-notch comedy here at the Colosseum Cup, folks. You don't get
to apologise. You all wanted this.
I won't make you apologise. That was cracking. So he's opted to play the Vraska here, try and protect his life total. Obviously, it's not going to be enough to finish off a Gideon just because I believe it has a prevents damage clause.
It does. Or some variety of indestructibility, or even both.
Oh, and this collection of planeswalkers that Paul's playing with Narset in play now, I don't know how Matt's going to be able to get the advantage back.
And I think all that Paul needs to really seal this off the top is a Sarkhan now. If you can find a Sarkhan with Narset, I think this is just going to be game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just starting to attack for 12, 16, 20 in the air at a time. And there's Johnny as well. Synergies are almost complete. Does Tybalt say opponents can't gain life?
It does indeed.
Excellent news.
I believe it's opponents, yes.
That's excellent news if it is. I'm just going to double check that.
Yeah, it's worth checking.
Tybalt does say opponents, yes.
Notice as well that Gideon is up to 7 loyalty as well, which means that next turn, assuming it doesn't take a hit from anything, he can attack and then exile something. Indeed.
And now we've got the choice here. Do we block the Gideon and have another tick down of that Vraska? And we've decided not to. Matt's decided to keep that Death Toucher in the hopes that it's going to take out a Planeswalker, perhaps.
Using Vraska as life gain.
Yes, must be.
I mean, building up a board of these 1/1 assassins, this is in theory a way to put some variety of pressure onto Paul here. Though, like I say, the ability of Gideon to -6 is something that I think is
absolutely
going to make all the difference.
It's going to be interesting to see where Paul puts this one damage. Is he going to go Fate or is he going to go Vraska? If he goes Vraska, I can't
imagine it goes anywhere but the assassin here, and yet that seems
to be creatures. Then that makes that a big misplay by Matt.
I wouldn't necessarily say a misplay. He maybe just had to hope that Paul made a mistake at that point.
I suppose so. He is under the cosh here. He's going to really struggle to get out from under this massive pressure. And as you said, the Sarkhan lands, and that could be curtains.
This is going to be 13 damage immediately right here if he decides to uptick.
And he does. He's going for it. He's absolutely putting the pressure on. He's only got one more turn as Matt now. I think this could be the end.
I don't even think you kill the Vraska here. I think this just all goes to face. What could he possibly get? And there you go. All upstairs, 6 life left, a Sarkhan on 6. I don't foresee a way of coming back from this.
I think we can see here, we said at the beginning of the stream, Sarkhan's going to be a big deal, and it's just proved it right here. We've seen some surprises from Ajani, we've seen Bolus, we've seen Ugin in many forms, and he's just exiling that Planeswalker just for the rub-ins. No chance of getting back in here for Matt now.
Off the top, I don't feel like that's going to be enough.
Doesn't look like it. No reach, I'm afraid, from that Garruk.
I think Matt may be coming to terms with the fact that this game is over.
Yes, and it looks very much like one of these players is going the way.
There's the good game emote, and the concession is on its way. What an incredible victory for Paul.
Yes, very well done. Hopefully the players will join us momentarily to give us their thoughts. But wow, what do you think of that game then, James? Let's just get... I'm going to try and get us back into big picture here. There we go.
I think it precisely highlighted what I was talking about before, which was the difference in deck building approaches that seem to be on view here. Matt very much going for a lot of early synergy, a couple of planeswalkers that don't necessarily do anything on the board, but arguably gain advantage later. Paul just going with heavy hitters, and it looks like the heavy hitters took it down.
Paul winner of the Shield for Season 5, has joined us in the chat. Hello, how are you doing today?
Absolutely dominating performance. Congratulations.
Dominating performance. Cheers, James.
We were just saying earlier that it looked like Paul went for a much more aggressive build of the deck. DJ Critch in the chat saying Sarkhan was always going to be the MVP in this game, the real tiebreaker. I think we highlighted that at the beginning of the stream.
I was talking to DJ Critch about the other day, and I was like, I think I'm just going to try and spaff out a lot of tokens and then see what happens. And he was like, yeah, and don't forget Sarkhan. I'm like, yeah, he's already in, don't worry. That was the one I didn't remember.
We both missed in game 1. I've never seen Ajani ultimated before. I didn't even know what it did.
Yeah,
just came out of nowhere.
I just looked at the screen like
to the opposing board. That was such a game changer.
Was that a bigger surprise for you as well, Matt?
See, I've played Ajani in life gain decks and ultimated it before, and then I went, oh crap! As soon as I saw him click it, I was like, oh yep, there goes that game.
Oh, there it goes.
Because we both thought up until that point that there was a bit of a stall going on, a bit of back and forth, lots of tokens being generated, and then suddenly they're all gone.
Yeah, I really should have pulled Ajani up on the screen for that one, see what the ult was. I had no idea. It's just one of those cards,
that was my plan. I was hoping no one noticed. Just get it there.
You got it under us all.
Even infantry team.
Got 15 more life than you originally started with. Exile all Ajani and all your opponents' creatures or permanents, I think.
Creatures, definitely not permanents.
Other than lands, or non-lands.
Yeah,
an artifact, I think, or something. But didn't matter for that.
Well, it was a fantastic game, folks.
We were both just waiting for the Sarkhan from either side. Well, I think we all knew that it was going to be such a big player, but it really does hit hard, doesn't it?
Well, we got to see all the hits, didn't we? We saw a Nugan, we saw a Sarkhan, we saw a Bolus. What more can you want?
Well, the one thing that we could want that wasn't available there, just for puns, is that no one played a Chandra, which didn't let me question whether or not Sam was aware of the fact that she's sexually attracted to products from Greg's.
Oh, is that so?
She's a pyromancer.
This is normally where I just leave the call.
Sorry, Jim. I did consider building the mono red one to see if there was like a way to do a mono red Planeswalker deck, but just not enough wild cards.
Not quite enough, is there? Yeah.
I can imagine if you splash like blue or maybe maybe if you splash blue, you can get in there with like a Ralzeric, some of the Planeswalker deck creatures, that kind of thing. But yeah, that would be a bit difficult, I think, otherwise. Anyway, folks. Good, we didn't see Big Daddy again, says DJ Critch. We saw him in hand once, we didn't get to see him activated, sadly. But I think that's a fantastic way to wrap up. Can I just say thank you very much to both of you for joining us today. A fantastic game, and well done to Paul for winning the Shield for Season 5.
Shout-outs as well, of course, to Matt's astounding performance in achieving both success in the Shield and the Gladiator.
Absolutely. Never before seen such...
The double.
The double, indeed.
I was going to say, I came fourth in the Gladiator and then lost the Shield.
Well, no silverware for you this year, but hopefully, Matt, we'll see you again next year in the Colosseum Cup and you'll come back better than ever, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm already brewing.
While we have you here...
more Silly Infinite.
Oh, Silly Infinite's fantastic. While we have you here, does anyone want to plug anything before we go?
Nah.
No self-promo. I'll leave that to me then. Well, have you guys heard of a stream called Crash and Bash? I'm just kidding, folks. Anyway,
have you guys heard of a store called GPG?
Oh, have you heard of Gathering Point Games? Perhaps the best store in the Northeast for all of your Magic the Gathering singles.
And currently holding modern events and.
But yes. Anyway, currently in the middle of a modern event over there, so hopefully things are going well. Good games, everyone, from DJ Critch. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. It's been a fantastic day. I'm just going to end the stream there, but again, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for letting me be here, Sam.
Oh, yes, and thank you for joining me, James.